I welcome you all to the lecture number 30 of this course and module 12. So, we are in the module 12 and in the module 12 we are talking about some specific applications of personality psychology. So, this is third lecture of this module and overall it is lecture number 30. So, today we will be talking about how personality psychology can be applied in the context of workplace and career. So, basically we will be looking at some of the implications of personality psychology in the field of business, workplace, career and so on. So, before we talk about today's lecture, let me give you a brief recap of the last lecture. So, last lecture was also part of this module and in that we have discussed how personality psychology kind of helps us in understanding the mental disorders or mental health in a broader sense. So, we discussed how personality variables could act as a vulnerability to mental disorders. So, we discussed the various mental disorders where personality trait could be one of the important factor. We discussed the varieties of personality disorders. So, because many times the trait of the personality itself can be considered as a disorder trait. So, those kind of personality disorder we have discussed in detail according to the DSM-5. We have discussed the different categories of disorders which are included under personality disorder, and at the end we discussed various causes of personality disorder. So, that was about the last lecture and let us see what we will be cover in today's lecture. So, in today's lecture we will be talking about how personality is linked to employee performance and success, how personality is linked to leadership and how it is related to occupational fitness in terms of what kind of people are fit to what kind of job and so on. So, let us start today's lecture. So, when we talk about personality, this is something very important in the context of business context or in the context of workplace context. So, personality psychology has lots of application. This is one of the branch of psychology that has many application in the context of business and organizational behavior and so on. So, there are many reasons why personality is very important in the context of business, in the context of workplace. So, there are three main reasons and we will be elaborating on these three reasons. The first reason is personality psychology help us to understand and gives insight about employee performance. So, employee performance is something that is very important in the context of business, in the context of organizations. Now, some individuals make better employees than others. We all know that certain types of people are good and in terms of performance they are much better, So, there are individual differences and some individuals are better employees. That is something we all know in different organizations. So, who makes a better employee? A lot of personality traits can influence that. It is beyond your capability in the workplace. Some people obviously your capacity and skills are important, but beyond that also there are a lot of other qualities of personality which are important in the context of performance. So, we will be looking at in detail about what kind of traits are important in that context. So, personality traits can influence work ethics, reliability, overall job performance and so on. We will be elaborating on that. So, this is one important reasons why it is important in the context of workplace and businesses. Second important reason is that personality traits are important to understand leaderships, because certain people make better bosses or leaders. Leaders' effectiveness is closely linked to personality traits, such as some of the traits which are very important. If those traits are there or present in a leader, then he or she will become a much better leader, because every organization has leaders in the different hierarchies and they influence the overall outcome of the organization in terms of profits and so on. So, personality traits influences leadership qualities. So, that is why it is important in the context of workplace. Personality psychology is also important to understand occupational fit. What does that mean is, some individuals are better suited to certain occupations. Now, sometimes a lot of people feel misfit in certain jobs or certain career choices. They feel that they are not made for this kind of jobs. So, there is a misfit. This misfit happens because of the differences, or there is a lack of fitness or compatibility between the person and the job. So, personality traits help us to understand what kind of job, what kind of careers are suitable for certain kind of people. So, matching personality traits with job requirement can lead to higher job satisfaction and performance. So, if somebody is a good fit in his job, as per his personality, if those kind of careers or jobs are suitable according to the personality of that person, then that person is more likely to succeed in that and more likely to perform better and more likely to be satisfied in their job. So, these are three important reasons why personality traits are very important in understanding or specifically, promoting, business context or organizational context. So, that is the 3 important reasons. Now, let us elaborate on these 3 important reasons. The first is about employee performance, how personality is connected to performance and success. Now, when we talk about employers, any employer selects an employee or any candidate based on with a certain expectation that they will be able to perform well in their organization. No one selects anybody with the idea that he may not be a good performer. So, everybody selects with certain ideas by asking certain questions in the interview or whatever mode of interview is there. The basic idea behind all this is that employer is trying to find out candidates which are good performers. Now, so that is something in the mind of the employers in any kind of selection process. According to a lot of surveys involving some surveys, one particular case here is more than 3,000 employees. The top rank qualities among 86 possible employee attributes were predominantly related to certain personality traits. So, apart from the skills that are required for a job, many organizations also look for certain types of qualities of the person. In all the big companies, all the big corporate sectors, they look for additional qualities of the person who can be a good performer, who has certain other qualities apart from just the work skills. So, one such survey was done on 3,000 employees, and the top rank qualities that were kind of in the mind of the employers in terms of attributes included things like quality like conscientiousness, integrity, trustworthiness, and some similar traits which are desired by the employers among his or her employees. The only other highly ranked quality was their mental ability, which is required in the performance of the skills that are required for performing the task. Obviously, that is important. Without that, no one will select you. But beyond those mental abilities required for the task of the job, employers also look for other qualities which are related to personality traits of the person. So, consequently, the prospective employers often try to gauge or try to judge these traits during hiring process, especially the big corporate sectors, big organization try to look at those qualities also, because that are important for the performance. Even if you may have lot of skills and abilities, but your because of the certain issues in your behaviors, you may not be able to perform to the best of your ability, and you may kind of negatively influence the whole atmosphere or whole environment of the organization. So, the job interview workshops frequently advise that employers pay close attention to the grooming, attire, punctuality, which are kind of or showing up on time, dressing appropriately, so these are some of the other things that they look, which are beyond just mental abilities related to job skills. So, mostly a lot of organizations look into those. These are all related to actually personality traits. So, beyond this casual observation, some of these things one can observe casually in the employees. Many organizations also administered formal personality assessments, which are also called integrity tests. So, these are personality tests which are used. These are formal tests which are validated and kind of with which is reliability and so on. They are developed with professional people, and they will many times administer those formal personality tests to judge certain characteristics also, if that is important in their organization. So, this test measures wide range of qualities including responsibility, long term job commitment, consistency, moral reasoning, friendliness, work ethic, dependability, cheerfulness, energy level, even temperaments and so on. So, they try to judge where this candidate is in all these desirable qualities which are important for the productivity of the person. Now, if you look at all these qualities, they are kind of align with the big 5 trait theory that we discussed, which is kind of the most researched trait theory, most accepted trait theory, these big 5 traits with which we can describe most of the qualities of human beings. If you see all these things, they can be kind of categorized into one of these big 5 traits. Particularly if you see the trait of agreeableness and emotional stability, which is opposite of neuroticism, most of these traits will come under this agreeableness and emotional stability. However, the trait most closely associated with the integrity test is conscientiousness. Conscientiousness is a trait which is the most desired trait that an employer mostly seeks among their employees, and this conscientiousness, one of the big 5 traits, which basically we have already discussed in detail about these traits, but basically in gist conscientiousness basically includes characteristics such as somebody who is very organized, responsible, disciplined and goal oriented. So, these are the traits associated with conscientious people, very organized, they are very disciplined, they are very whatever task they will be given, they will try finish on time, they will set their goals and achieve those goals. So, these qualities are highly sought after in the organizations. Because even if you may have a lot of skills, but you don't you lack these qualities, you will not be able to perform. So, a lot of these tests actually look for this particular trait called conscientiousness. And also people look at other traits like emotional stability. Agreeableness is something where people with high agreeableness, actually they avoid lot of conflicts and they are more generally harmonious relationships. So, those kind of qualities. So, this is one of the most important trait. Conscientiousness is generally, research shows, something that is mostly sought after by most of these formal tests that they are done in the organizations, which determines occupational success of the person also and also good for the organization. So, let us see this particular trait in little bit more detail in terms of research, how it influences job performance. So, conscientiousness, as we said, this is a trait that is related to organized, disciplined, goal oriented, those kind of traits. The effectiveness of this particular trait in predicting job performance can vary depending on the definition of the job performance. Obviously, how do you define job performance? That people may have different criteria to decide that. But in a lot of these industrial psychological studies, job performance a lot of time is in the organizational context is measured by supervisor's rating. Let us say after hiring one year after the hiring, how the supervisor rates. This is one of the casual ways of looking at the performance of the employee. When an employee is hired, probably 1 year or 2 year probation period is given, where generally the employers or people in the higher hierarchy, they judge based on how that person has performed. So, generally based on that, then their future course of things are decided. So, most of the casually this is how it is done. So, this supervisor rating sometimes can be very subjective depending on how the person has his relationship with that person and how he looks at. So, many times this can be very subjective also. May not also, some other person may, if the judge the person, the outcome could be different also. So, but they are valuable from the supervisor's perspective, whoever he is in the leadership position. So, he or she is trying to judge the performance based on whatever 1 year or 2 year window period. Some research indicate that employers prediction for future job performance using this personality test increases. Now, if on top of this subjective assessment, if people use this formal assessment personality test, then their prediction of how that person will perform in the job actually increases manifold. So, that increases the accuracy rate to a large extent, sometime from 50% to 70%. So, using this additional personality test actually increases their accuracy level, because just judging by 1 or 2% subjectively, it can be biased also. But when you use this assessment personality assessment test, they increases the accuracy level to large extent, and such increase in the accuracy actually is very important, and in terms of organizational perspective also, because it can save lot of money in terms of hiring and so on. So, this improvement in prediction accuracy can result in significant cost saving also, because it is very expensive process in terms of training an employee, selecting an employee and so on. So, if you can select right kind of people and retain them, it can save lot of costs. So, in that context, regardless of whatever criteria you use, subjective criteria by the supervisor or the leader, or you use formal assessment test, lot of literature in the organizational context shows that conscientious trait is consistently related to all job performance. So, this particular trait has been found to be associated with job performance criteria for all occupational groups. whatever the occupation level, whatever who are in the lower level, higher level, middle level, whatever level, this particular trait has been found to be very good in terms of predicting job performance. Now, this finding is consistent for both the genders like males and remains significant even after controlling age and years of education. So, irrespective of what age group you are, what kind of education you have, what kind of gender you have, this trait has been found to be very important predictor of job performance. One of the reason for this, why this trait is very important in terms of performance or in terms of contribution to the organization, is that one of the behavior pattern which a lot of organization seeks from the employees is something called as a citizenship performance or citizenship behavior, which basically means where employees actively promote the goals of the organization. So, when basically it is related to an employee's identification with the organization, and if they actively look not just what they are doing their own job, but they are also very actively involved in the overall promotion of the goals of the organization. So, they are very dedicatedly work for their own work as well as whatever to the best of their ability to the promotion of the goals of the organization. So, beyond their whatever job requirement, many times they put effort. So, that is called citizenship behavior or citizenship performance, and this conscientious trait has been linked to this particular behavior, citizenship behavior, and that is very important for most of the organization. This citizenship behavior includes different kinds of behavior such as helping to teach new employees. So, people who are having this trait, they will be very actively, even the new people, they will try to train them and promote, support them. Alleviating workplace conflicts, so they will try to remove conflicts in terms of they will not contribute to the conflict, rather than they will remove the conflicts. Being aware of and responding to the problems and opportunities, they are aware of different problems and they will respond appropriately. Maintaining a positive attitude that improves overall workplace. So, overall they will contribute positively to the organization, and with their work as well as beyond their duty they will also do something. So, these are called citizenship behaviors. Such citizenship behaviors are predicted by this trait called conscientious. So, people who are high in the trait, they generally are more likely to show this kind of behavior, citizenship behavior, and ultimately this behavior is good for the organization in terms of performance, everything goes up. So, such citizenship behaviors are predicted by traits like conscientiousness and are beneficial to organizational performance regardless of whether the setting is store, factory or office. In every context, such behaviors are kind of always desired by the employers, and it is linked to the trait of conscientious. Now, this personality can also contribute to the success, not only to the organizational success, but the success of the person also, his or her own career. So, obviously the employers value good job performance from their workers, but from the workers perspective, one of the important criteria for their success is how they are advancing in their job in terms of earnings, in terms of promotion, whatever it is, that is from the perspective of that worker, that is very important. Employers will look for, let us say, organizational criteria, but employees will mostly think from their perspective. Now, in that context also personality play a very significant role in these outcomes as well. Traits such as conscientiousness, as we have said, which comes again and again. Other traits like extroversion, people who are more extroverted, and emotional stability are often linked to career success and high income. So, lot of research shows that people with these traits, conscientiousness is something that is very important in every context. Also, people with extrovert traits, particularly certain jobs where extrovertness required are very important, where you are more outgoing and kind of talking to people and kind of not like in your own world. Certain jobs require that kind of characteristics. Most of the jobs actually requires that, except some of the jobs. And emotional stability, which is also very important. If you are not emotionally stable, you are all the time irritated, all the time show anger and those kind of issue, then you are emotionally unstable in a sense, and those will influence your relationship, influence your performance also. So, emotional stability is something is also very important, and it has been linked to career success or higher income. For example, conscientious individuals tend to be very reliable, diligent and organized, which we have discussed. These qualities can lead to promotions and salary increase. So, a lot of so these are like general finding from different contexts, that conscientious people are more likely to, because of their personal characteristics, may get more promotions and salary increase because of their dedication and other things. Extrovert may excel in roles requiring social interaction. Extroverts are required in certain jobs where a lot of social interaction, and you have to interact with people and convince people, and those kind of jobs. Obviously, these people will excel more. And leadership also required a lot of extrovertness, where you have to talk to people, where you have to kind of understand people and so on. So, in leadership roles, in the social interaction related jobs, enhances their career prospects and earning potentials. So, this quality gives a boost to their career in those directions. Emotional stability helps individuals manage stress and maintain productivity. So, if you are too much overwhelmed by stress and not able to perform, then even though you may have skills, but because of not able to handle emotions, you may not be able to perform well. So, that ability to manage stress, cope better in the difficulties and so on, is something very important in the productivity and contributing to the long term careers and success. So, this is how some of the traits are related to success of the job of the person himself. So, in an everyday language, we can say success people are often described as having drive, which encompasses industriousness, impulse control, or very ordered, organized. These are a key component of conscientiousness. So, conscientiousness trait is something kind of captures a lot of these qualities. Another term which generally people also talk about nowadays, which is important to in the context of achieving goals, is called grit, which is basically your level of perseverance that you maintain for achieving long term goals. Many times when a task requires long term efforts to achieve that goal, then obviously many people are not able to pursue that long term goal because they lose the motivation. So, grit is a quality. If you are a gritty person, you will pursue and achieve a goal which requires lot of effort and long term effort. So, that is quality called grit, and this has been found to be very important in success in life, and particularly achieving goals and so on. Essential for success in schools and work. A lot of research shows this grit and conscientiousness are essentially very similar construct. People who are having high conscientious are generally also gritty. So, these are very similar in terms of characteristics. So, even some research show even at the genetic level they overlap significantly. So, that is how this particular trait seems to play a very important role in the success of the organization as well as success of the career or promotions or salary increase of the person himself or herself. So, it contributes in both ways. So, highly conscientious employees actively seek opportunities to learn about their company and acquire skills beyond the current job roles. So, this is they are very proactive in that sense, which also leads to promotions and other things. Also, conscientious individuals tend to perform well in interviews also, not because of their just polished behavior or presentation, but they also invest time in gathering extra informations and so on. So, that also helps them to succeed more in interviews and so on. So, their ability to plan ahead and avoid procrastination, which is also another important characteristics that can also lead to success. So, these are some of the so that is how we have found particularly how conscientious as one trait that plays very important role in the employee performance for the organization as well as for their own career also. Now, let us see how the next topic that we said where personality plays very important role is the leadership, because we in every organization has leaders, that leader may be in the different hierarchies. What are the characteristics of that leader plays very important role in the overall performance of the organization. There is no doubt about it. Leaders plays very important role because it is the leader who will direct other employees, and accordingly they will put their efforts and the motivation will be decided by that. So, personality plays a very important role in terms of deciding the leadership effectiveness. So, if the personality of the employee is important, then personality of their bosses is even more important, because they are the one who is directing. The action of a manager or a leader significantly impacts the behaviors and outcomes of many others and can influence the overall success of the company or organization. So, this is something very clearly commonsensical, that the behavior of the leader, manager, whoever is in the top position it will influence the overall success of the company, because they are the one who is deciding the policies, motivating the employees and so on. A major literature review by Judge and colleagues in 2002, they analyzed about 73 studies on personality and leadership performance. So, basically they collected all the studies that linked leadership with performance, with basically certain personality traits and leadership performance. What kind of traits of a leader leads to higher successes. So, they kind of collected about 73 such studies which looked into this connection, and which included overall about 25,000 high and low level managers across 5,000 organizations. So, it is a large scale study. That study included diverse kind of samples and large number of samples, and what they found. So, from all these studies they kind of summarized the findings of all these studies, and they found the pattern in terms of the result. So, results were strong and consistent. Most of the studies were very consistently in particular direction. It is not like that one is going in this direction, another study is going in another direction. The results were very consistent in certain direction. They found out of this big 5 personality trait, 4 of them are associated with better leaderships. Out of these 5, 4 are very important in deciding the quality of leaders. So, the best predictor of management performance was emotional stability. So, emotional stability of a leader is very important. If leader is very emotionally unstable, get irritated easily and has a lot of anger issues, let us say, and get stressed very soon or with simple difficulties and problems and hardship, then that person cannot perform as a leader, because he has to absorb the stress and difficulties of whole organization. So, that person has to have a emotional stability. So, this is very important in deciding the effectiveness of a leader. One of the most important best predictor was emotional stability. Leaders, what is the emotional stability of the leader? With overall correlation coefficient was about 0.33. So, this means that managers who are calm and not anxious or depressed made better leaders. So, this was one of the best predictor. Second was, other predictors of management success included conscientiousness. Again, conscientiousness is coming again and again, because that is also important, how disciplined, organized the leader is in terms of their performance. So, that is also important. Extroversion is also important, correlation coefficient is 0.27. So, leader has to talk to people, go out and meet people, understand the problems of the people. So, they need to be extrovert, little bit extrovert. They cannot just sit on their room and decide everything. So, that extroversion is also very important, and openness as a trait. That openness, that lack of more flexibility in the mind and looking at the different perspective, what people are thinking, what is their perspective, and be open to their suggestions and so on. So, that is also very important in terms of deciding the quality of leader. If a leader is very rigid and not willing to understand others' perspective or understand different perspective, then he or she cannot make a good leader. So, this is one important, these are some of the important characteristics of good leader that this summary of study shows: emotional stability, conscientiousness, extroversions and openness. One quality that was not found directly linked to leadership quality among these big 5, one was left, that is agreeableness. It can make a good employee. For a good employee, agreeableness is something that we already discussed is important, but for a leader this may not be a very good trait. Agreeableness, however, did not significantly correlated with being a good manager, because the coefficient was very small, possibly because being overly agreeable could undermine authority. Now, agreeableness is a quality where you always look for just harmony and avoiding conflict and agree with people and those kind of things. In a leadership position, you have to disagree many times. So, if you just keep agreeing and only looking at stability, then probably one cannot make a good leader in that sense. So, for a leadership position, too much of agreeableness may not be a good desirable trait. This is what at least research shows. So, these are some of the traits that research shows are important to make a good leader. So, leadership is not just about skills of the task. These traits plays very important role in terms of making a good leader. Some of the research also focused on obviously, as we said, who makes a best leader, But some research work also says that some cases people go into the position of leadership because of their certain ruthless characteristics, they become leaders, but they do not have desirable characteristics. These are like worst case scenarios. Those who should not become a leader, they become leaders, So, with certain characteristics. So, these are the people with something called as three traits or three characteristics of people who are called as dark triad traits. So, these are three traits. Lot of people actually, these traits actually go into the leadership position because of certain characteristics, but they do not make good leaders because generally people are not happy under them. Three of these characteristics which we also discussed earlier also. So, I will just summarize here. So, one is that people with narcissistic characteristics. Narcissistic characteristics basically means these people have very inflated sense of self importance. They always want they to be the center of attention. They always want that everybody should praise them. They have a very strong need for admiration. They lack empathy. They are not at all concerned with others' well-being. They only think I should be, there is a sense of entitlement. I should be praised because I deserve, because I am the best. And this sense of self-importance is something, they too much attach importance to. And such people are called narcissistic traits. So, there are many other characteristics, but these are some of the central traits of people with narcissistic characteristics. So, this is one particular personality. Another is Machiavellianism. This is also another trait. These people are very manipulative, they manipulate people with lies and so on. So, so they will to bring out what they want to do, they will manipulate people here and there with lies and so on, with the idea of this kind of trait. Manipulative people. Cynical people, a lot of cynicism about, they look down others, there is a sense of cynical attitude towards them, not much respect for other people and so on. Focus on self interest again is also like narcissistic people, too much of self interest. They will do only whatever is benefit them. So, this is called Machiavellianism trait. Another is psychopathic trait. This term most of us know actually for a psychopathy trait. These are the people who may get even engaged with antisocial behaviors, even with criminal behaviors, and they have lack of remorse. Even if they do something bad, they do not have guilt about it. So, that is called psychopathic trait. They have a very superficial charming face. People get attracted to them because of their, probably they show a very lot of confidence, and very impulsive, very aggressive people. So, these three traits which are called dark triad, lot of people with this trait actually go into leadership position many times because of their ruthless characteristics. They will crush others and go to the top position. So, individual high on these traits sometimes, lot of times gain power due to their ruthlessness and cunning behavior, which can occasionally help them achieve organizational goals. Because of this cunning and ruthless behavior, many times they will just simply crush people and go to the top position. But the problem is such people never make good leaders. Why? Because they are typically unpleasant to work for. No one is happy under working these kind of people. One study described their leadership style as selfish, impulsive, exploitative and toxic. So, they will exploit people, they will have create a toxic environment in the organization. They will be very impulsive, aggressive, very selfish. They will try to promote their own self interest. So, no one will be happy, it is not good for organizations. So, such people many times by hook and crook they go, but ultimately they cannot make good leaders because followers will not be happy, and that is the criteria of a good leader. If follower is happy, then you are a good leader, happy, and you are kind of promoting the whatever cause of the organization, and these people do not do that. So, some traits can be problematic, but they can go into leadership position because of certain other characteristics, but these are not desirable characteristics. So, this is something about some people go into leadership position, but they should not be. but obviously they cannot stay there too much because of this kind of qualities. So, this is about leadership. So, leadership, certain traits are important and certain traits can be detrimental. Now, the third reasons why personality is important in the context of organization is personality help us to understand which job is suitable for which kind of person. So, that is called occupational fitness. Personality, understanding of personality can help us to give insight about those aspects. So, success involves more than just possessing right traits, it also depends on fit between the person's trait and the type of occupation they perform. So, even though you may have a very good traits, lot of desirable traits, still you may not succeed in a particular job because this job is not suitable for you. So, what kind of occupation, what kind of job you are pursuing, that should match with your personality characteristics. So, that is something very important. So, not just having trait is not enough, whether this trait is suitable or fit for a particular job or not, that is also very important. So, finding a role that aligns with one's personality can significantly enhance job satisfaction, performance and overall career success. If you are in a good job, fit job which is suitable for your personality, it will enhance your satisfaction level in the job, it will enhance your performance level and overall success of your career. Now, trait psychology provides valuable insights in this direction, particularly what kind of occupation one should choose. So, according to recent study, the fit between personality and job is crucial because economic success depends on not only on having a successful personality, but also in part on finding the best niches for one's personality. So, that is something very important. Compatibility is something very important. Now, for example, let us say a person who is very extrovert, very outgoing, social, lot of energy, if such a person is let us say going to a job of such as like being a bookkeeper, that person will suffocate there because he has to sit in one room and look into books and shelves and so on. For such a person, he will never be happy in this kind of job because his trait is to outgoing, meet people, talk to people, but such a person will make a much better success in jobs being let us say being an actor or let us say being a job where like social work or let us say any job, let us say salesperson or something like that, where you go out and meet people, talk to people. So, people with extrovertness will be more successful in certain kind of job and may not, it does not mean they cannot do those jobs, but only they will not be happy in doing those jobs, they will kind of feel misfit. The key implications of this finding is that the choice of occupation significantly impacts success and happiness. A good fit can lead to excellent outcomes, while poor fit can result in failure and unhappiness. So, that is also a very important criteria, especially if you look at a lot of these western countries where people have choices in terms of job. So, people can choose certain jobs. So, obviously, if you have choice, then it is better to choose a job which fits for you. In many contexts where you do not have choice, obviously then one has to compromise. So, in this context of personality job fit, one particular theory was given, which is given by John Holland, which talks about what kind of job should be, which kind of person should do which kind of job. So, he developed a detailed theory about that. This is called John Holland's personality job fit theory. This is one of the highly influential theory that matches people with jobs with the typology of industrial psychologist or with the personality he was an industrial psychologist named John Holland. Holland personality job fit theory, also known as RIASEC, these are like acronyms, RIASEC, each letter is for one type of personality. So, which we will be just discussing now, is also called RIASEC model, is built over several key postulates from the foundation of this theory. So, this theory has many postulates which we will be talking now. So, some of the major ideas behind this theory is that number one is that people can be categorized into 6 personality types. So, these are based on each letter of this word RIASEC. So, R is for realistic, I is for investigative, A is for artistic, S is for social, E is for enterprising and C is for conventional. So, in the context of job, so this theory is in the context of organization and job. So, these personalities are not general personalities, but these are the traits associated with job context. So, according to this model, there are 6 possible types of people in the context of organization, in the context of job. So, these are, one is realistic people, investigative people, artistic people, social people, enterprising people and conventional people. So, let us see what are these 6 categories of people. So, the first one is realistic individuals. People with this trait prefer practical, hands-on activities and enjoy working with tools, machines or animals. They are often mechanically inclined and enjoy physical tasks. So, these are realistic people, are those people who has a good trait or good kind of skills in terms of, basically in terms of preference, they prefer hands-on activities which are mechanical, where you can directly work there. They work with tools, machines, animals. They are very mechanically inclined and enjoy physically actual task. These are called realistic people. So, these are the people who lot of these are the people where they will kind of more suitable in jobs which include those realistic tasks, like lot of engineering is connected to realistic tasks, farming, engineering, farming, construction work and various trades also requires realistic tasks. So, the people with realistic traits will be more fit to some of the jobs which are related to the mechanical task or hands-on training, hands-off task or enjoy the physical tasks. So, these are the some of the professions which has realistic characteristics where these people will mostly succeed and prefer this kind of job. Second is investigative types of people. These are the people who are analytical, intellectual and curious people. They enjoy working with ideas, concepts and data, often engages in scientific research and problem solving. So, the people by nature they are more investigative in the sense that these are the people very analytical mindset, they are very intellectual, very curious, they can go into the deep depth of a problem and analyze and so on. So, a lot of these analytical abilities and investigative qualities. So, these people mostly prefer working with ideas, concepts and data and engage with scientific research and problem solving. So, people with this kind of trait, the more suitable career for this kind of people include scientists, researchers, laboratory technicians, academics and so on. So, these are some of the jobs or careers that are related to investigative traits. So, people with investigative traits will more succeed in this kind of jobs. The third kind of trait is artistic trait. So, these are the people who are creative, imaginative and expressive. They prefer activities that involve art, music, writing and design. So, these are the people, they are very very artistic and creative people. They enjoy things which are where creativity is required, so like music, writing, design and so on. So, common careers that includes that requires artistic characteristics like artists, musicians, writers, designers and actors and so on. So, these are the professions that requires artistic people, and artistic people will enjoy this kind of profession and more likely to succeed in those professions. The next one is social trait. So, these are the people who are very social, empathetic, cooperative. They enjoy working with people, often in helping and teaching roles. So, social people are more outgoing, more they enjoy working with people, meeting people. They are more cooperative, they understand the perspective of other people, which is empathy. So, they basically will enjoy the jobs that require meeting and kind of connecting with people. So, it may include careers like teachers, counselors, social workers, nurses, therapists and so on. These professions requires people with higher traits in social traits. They will kind of succeed more in this kind of jobs. The next one is enterprising. So, these are the people who are ambitious, persuasive and energetic. So, they enjoy leading, managing and selling ideas or products. So, these are very enterprising people, they have a lot of ambitions, also very ideas and persuasive, they pursue those ideas and convince people. So, they are like in the leadership, mostly they come in the leadership position that manage and try to do something. So, very lot of enterprising qualities. So, lot of this quality is important in lot of careers like business executives, sales people, managers, entrepreneurs. So, a lot of these entrepreneurs who succeed in creating jobs or creating organizations, creating certain companies, they are very enterprising characteristics. This enterprising characteristics is one of the trait that is very important for succeeding in this kind of jobs. Then comes conventional. So, these are the individuals who are organized, detailed oriented and methodical, very clear cut rule oriented kind of individuals. They prefer structured task and working with data or numbers. So, these are the people who are very comfortable in organized task. So, they are not like may not be very creative, but whatever task rules are given to them, they will do very well. So, common profession that includes where conventional characteristics are preferred includes accountants, administrative assistants, bankers, data analysts and so on. So, where the data will be given, everything is rule regulated, you do not have to think much about it, but you have to perform based on whatever is given to you according to the rules setup that is already given. So, the conventional people are good at that. So these are like 6 types of people, and accordingly there are 6 types of jobs or kind of careers where they can fit. So, the second proposition is work environments can be categorized into same 6 types. So, there are 6 type of individuals in the context of job, and all jobs whatever we see can also be categorized into one of these 6 categories according to this model. Third, people search for environments that allow them to express their personality and types. So, people generally are drawn to certain environments which matches with their personality. Because if somebody is certain traits, if they get that kind of job also, they are more likely to express their skills, express their values and take roles that aligns with their preferences. So, they will be more drawn to those kind of jobs and so on. So, people actively search for this environment, and if they are able to find that kind of job, that will kind of help them to express themselves and be more satisfied with that. Fourth postulate of this model is that behavior is determined by the interaction between personality and environment. So, obviously, any behavior what you do, job satisfaction, stability, performance, all these things will be determined to a large degree based on to what extent there is a congruence or fitness between your personality trait and how it matches with the job environment or the environment in which you are placed. So, this higher congruence leads to better outcomes. So, that is something, the basic idea of this theory that we have been talking about. So, individuals whose personality type closely match their work environment is more likely to experience higher job satisfaction, career success, stability and so on. So, these are some of the kind of ideas, postulates behind this theory. This theory also talks about 2 other concepts. One is the consistency and differentiation in the personality traits that can also kind of determine the career development and so on. So, consistency basically means it refers to similarity between an individual's top 2 or 3 personality types. So, everybody may score, let us say these 6 traits that we have discussed. So, there are questionnaires to see what kind of traits you fall in. Sometimes people may fall into more than one category, their trait may be not just one particular type. So, for example, they may be artistic as well as social also. It is possible people may have multiple characteristics, same person may have 2-3 traits also. So, to what extent the traits that the person have, to what extent, let us say top 2 traits, to what extent these traits are similar to one another. So, that is high consistency. So, high consistency means the top traits are very similar to each other, then it is high consistent personality. So, high consistency means that these types are closely related, leading more predictable career preferences. For example, if somebody scores high on social and enterprising, then these 2 are very similar actually, both are very similar to each other. Types exhibit high level of consistency because they both involve interaction with people. So, if somebody is high on these two traits, it is highly consistent characteristics, because both are very similar, because both requires involvement and interaction with the people. Differentiation basically means the degree to which person has very clear distinct interest. So, if personality is a certain person only score high on a particular trait and score very low on the opposite traits or traits which are very different from that. So, that is kind of talking about consistency in a different way. So, that is called differentiation. So, the person has a very clear cut distinct trait, he is only interested in this particular type of task, not in anything else, then there is a high differentiation. For example, artistic and conventional types represent high level of differentiation. If somebody is artistic, that means the person if score very low on conventional, that means there is high differentiation, because these two are very different. Conventional people are not very creative, but artistic people are very creative. So, if somebody scores high on artistic and very low on conventional, that means there is a high differentiation. Person is only interested in a only particular type of things, not in other things. So, if you see this, this is called Holland's hexagon, that shows that 6 traits, how they are arranged in a hexagon. So, the basic idea of this hexagon is that the traits which are close to each other are more similar. That means, so let us say something like enterprising and social, they are close to each other. So, they are more similar, and the traits which are opposite to each other are very dissimilar, very different. So, conventional and artistic are opposite to each other, means like conventional people are far away from creativity, artistic people are very creative and they do not like conventional tasks. So, like this. So, this is an organization which in a lump sum way says which traits are similar to each other and which traits are very different from each other. So, this relationship between types kind of we have already discussed is that types which are adjacent to each other, like realistic, investigative, are more closely related, means they are more similar in terms of characteristics, and those who are farther apart are very dissimilar or less alike. So, in that sense consistency which we have discussed is basically someone personality type includes types which are very similar, close to each other in that hexagon, that means the person has high consistency, and it will give more clarity, and person will be able to decide his career very clearly. Differentiation is, according to this theory, what we said is refers to degree of clarity or distinctiveness. Only one particular category, 1 or 2, and very opposite traits are this person score low on that. So, high distinctiveness and differentiation also is such people are able to make much more clear decisions, because they are very distinct and differentiated characteristics. So, high differentiation means a person with high differentiation has a very clear and strong preference for 1 or 2 specific personality types. So, this means their interests are very well defined, very clear, making it easier for them to choose and match the careers and the jobs, because they are very specific, they only are comfortable in only this particular type of characteristics. So, a person might score very high on investigative type and much lower in other 5 types, that this indicates very high differentiation, only one particular type. Low differentiation means just opposite to that, a person with low differentiation have a very similar score with many traits. So, almost like this person has interest in this also, traits also in some other characteristics. So, too much of mix up. So, in this case individual might have more generalized set of interests, the person do not have much distinctiveness, but varieties of interest and those kind of thing. However, this might make it harder to identify very clear distinctive careers and paths, because the person has too much of interest in too many areas. For example, if someone scores equally across realistic, social, enterprising, if they score high on all these, then they can be suitable in various kinds of jobs which blends these elements. So, like this low differentiation cases where people may find it difficult to kind of choose very specific pathways and so on. So, this is about how personality traits can give us insight in terms of careers, jobs, businesses and so on. So, personality can play very important roles. So, in terms of employee performance, selection of employees, leadership, and how to fit personality with the right kind of job and so on. So, these are about some of the basic ideas about how personality can be applied to businesses and work context. So, with this I stop here. Thank you. you.